A large part of what worries you will never actually happen. But even so, your mind keeps treating everything as urgent, as if every thought were a real warning. And that's what drains you more than any genuine challenge ever could. Constant worry doesn't come from what's happening around you. It comes from trying to control what was never yours to control. And the harder you try to hold everything together, the more restless your mind becomes. The Stoics knew exactly what that feeling was like. Marcus Aurelius expressed it with remarkable clarity. You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When that truth finally sinks in, a burden begins to lift. You realize you don't have to answer for everything, predict everything, or carry responsibilities that were never yours to begin with. Serenity stops depending on circumstances and begins to grow from the way you choose to see life. Epictetus lived as a slave, and yet he found a peace that no one could ever take away from him. Seneca was surrounded by wealth, power, and influence, but he understood that none of those things could erase anxiety or fear. What united these men was one simple decision: to invest their energy only in what they could truly govern. And when you make that same choice, your mind begins to slow down. Fear starts to lose its grip, and life regains a sense of lightness you may have thought was gone forever. In this video, you'll learn how to put that principle into practice and turn worry into clarity. Before we continue, leave this comment below: I choose serenity. Let those words be your first step toward taking control of what truly belongs to you. Now let's begin. Tool 1. The mental cut. How to separate facts from opinions. Let's get straight to the point. A huge part of the suffering you experience doesn't come from what happened. It comes from the way you interpreted what happened. It doesn't begin in the outside world. It begins in your mind, in that inner voice that takes something simple and turns it into a massive problem before you even realize it. You don't suffer because of the event itself. You suffer because of the story you build around it. And the Stoics understood this centuries ago, yet most people go through their entire lives without ever realizing it. What happens to you doesn't hurt you directly. What hurts you is the meaning you attach to what happened. Facts are neutral. They have no intention, no cruelty, no drama. They don't come with an emotional caption. They simply exist. But your mind, when it's untrained, jumps into action immediately. It doesn't observe, it interprets. And even worse, it interprets quickly, dramatically, and almost always inaccurately. That's where suffering begins. Here's a simple but powerful example. You send someone a text, hours go by, and there's still no reply. That's all that actually happened. But your mind refuses to accept the silence, so it fills the empty space with stories. She's ignoring me. I must have said something wrong. I'm not important. Do you see what happened? The fact was silence. The suffering came from the interpretation. It's like seeing a shadow in the dark and instantly convincing yourself it's a monster. The problem isn't the shadow. It's the story you created about it. And suddenly you're anxious, insecure, and uncomfortable because of something that was never confirmed, never said, and might not even be real. You didn't react to reality, you reacted to a fiction created by your own mind. Here's another real-life example. You lose your job. The fact is simple. You no longer work there. That's it. But then your mind takes over. My life is over. I'm a failure. I'll never get back on my feet again. The fact was a single event. The suffering was an entire screenplay you wrote in a matter of seconds. The action that changes everything is this. The next time you feel anxiety, fear, or worry starting to build, stop and ask yourself, what exactly happened without the story, without the adjectives, without the exaggeration? Just the fact. Someone criticized you? The fact is, someone said something. Everything else is your own construction, were you ignored. The fact is, that person did not respond. Everything else is interpretation. When you learn to separate the fact from the story, you cut off the root of 90% of your emotional suffering. Because the truth is simple and hard at the same time. It isn't events that destroy you, it's the way you magnify them inside your own mind. When you remove the drama from reality, what's left is almost never as heavy as it first seemed. The mountain that terrified you was often nothing more than a shadow cast against the wall. So stop being the narrator of your own tragedy. Become the surgeon of your own mind. Cut away the exaggeration, remove the drama, preserve only what is real, and you'll realize something incredibly powerful. What was destroying you was almost never out in the world. It was in the way you were thinking about it. 3 simple actions keep the Stoic house alive. Hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe. Now let's move on to the next lesson. Tool 2. Separate what's yours from what never was. You've already learned to separate the facts from the story your mind builds on top of them, but now comes the most important part, because without it, the first tool simply can't hold up. A lot of people already realize they're exaggerating. They know they're catastrophizing. They can feel their minds going way too far, and even so, they still can't stop. And that happens for one simple reason. The problem isn't just in the interpretation, it's in where you're placing your energy. You're not just thinking the wrong way, you're investing effort into things that were never under your control. And that's exhausting because it keeps you worried all the time. It's like trying to push a concrete wall with your bare hands. You strain, you keep pushing, you wear yourself down, but the wall doesn't move even an inch. And in the end, the only one who gets hurt is you. The Stoics solve this in an almost brutally simple way. Divide life into only 2 categories. First, everything that depends on you. Your actions, your choices, your attitude, your discipline, what you decide to do today. Second, everything that does not depend on you. Other people's opinions, the final outcome, someone else's judgment, traffic, the economy, another person's response, a comment from a complete stranger. Now comes the part most people avoid facing. The second category doesn't belong to you, it never did. And suffering over it is like trying to stop the rain with your hands held open. You get tired, you get frustrated, and the rain keeps falling anyway. Think about something real. An important job interview tomorrow. Most people spend the entire night trapped in questions they can't answer. Will they like me? What if someone else is more qualified? What if I fail? Do you see it? They're trying to control another person's decision. They're fighting on the wrong battlefield. The Stoic does something different. They bring everything back to what actually belongs to them. They think, I can prepare well, I can get enough rest, I can show up with a clear mind, I can speak honestly, I can give my best. That's mine. Only that, the outcome isn't. And when you truly understand that, something changes. You did everything that was within your power and you weren't chosen. That doesn't mean you failed. You fulfilled your part because your role was never to control the world. It was to act with excellence within your own sphere. That's the difference between living in peace and living in constant battle with reality. So whenever something starts consuming you from the inside, stop and ask yourself honestly, is this completely under my control? If the answer is no, stop carrying it. I'm not telling you to ignore life. I'm telling you to stop suffering over something that was never in your hands, to stop fighting reality, and to direct your energy toward what is truly yours, your character, your actions, your response. Everything else is just noise. And the day you truly understand this, not just in your mind but in your body, in the way you respond to life, you'll feel something you may not have felt in a very long time. Lightness. Tool 3. Face the worst before it faces you. You already understand what is under your control and what is not, but even so, there is a kind of worry that never fully goes away. It returns when everything is quiet, when nothing has happened, but something could happen. It does not come from the past, it comes from the future. And that is exactly why it is harder to deal with, because it has no shape, no face, only possibility. Fear has a trick. It only works in the dark. In uncertainty, in the things you refuse to look at. Because whatever you refuse to face, your mind enlarges, and the more you avoid it, the bigger it becomes. Because it is not the problem that paralyzes you, it is the lack of clarity about it. The Stoics had an answer for this. They called it the premeditation of adversity. And no, this is not about imagining the worst so you can suffer ahead of time. It is about imagining the worst so you are not caught unprepared. Most people hear that and think it sounds pessimistic, but it is the opposite. It is preparation. Think about what worries you the most right now. Losing your job, a relationship ending, a project failing, or someone important walking out of your life. Now do what most people avoid. Stop and picture it happening, without running from it, without softening it. See the entire scene as if it were already real. Because as long as you avoid thinking about it, your mind treats it as something unknown, and the unknown always seems bigger than it really is. Now keep going. Take a breath and notice something essential. You are still there. Your body is still there. Your mind is still there. Your character is still there. If you lose your job, you still have your skills, your ability to start over, just like millions of people who have fallen and come back even stronger. If a relationship ends, the pain is real, but you are still you. Your identity does not disappear with it. If everything falls apart, you still have the foundation that supports every new beginning, yourself. And here is the point that changes everything. Fear starts to shrink, not because the situation stopped existing, but because it stopped being unknown. When you walk through that scenario in your mind, reach the end, and realize that you are still standing, something inside your mind changes completely. The fear does not disappear, but it loses its power. Because now it has a shape, and whatever has a shape can be faced. It is like turning on the light in a dark room. What once seemed enormous now has clear boundaries. That is what builds real confidence, not the kind that depends on everything going right, but the kind that comes from knowing that if everything goes wrong, you will still know how to respond. And that completely changes the way you live. The future stops feeling like a constant threat and becomes simply something you are prepared to face. This Stoic practice is not pessimism, it is like invisible training. You mentally walk through what you fear so that if it ever happens, it will not be your first time experiencing it. Seneca spoke about this with remarkable simplicity. He advised imagining loss and hardship, not to live in fear, but to live prepared. Because the person who trains the mind beforehand does not break when life puts it to the test later. Tool 4. Train your mind through pain. You can understand everything. You can study, reflect. You can even agree with every idea. But when life truly tightens its grip, only one thing matters: what you have already practiced in real life. The previous tools give you clarity. They teach you to separate facts from judgments, to let go of what is outside your control, and to look at the worst-case scenario with composure. But there is something none of them can give you on their own: real resilience. Because when pain arrives, when the problem is real, when the pressure is genuine, theory alone does not keep anyone standing. That is why so many people collapse when they face their first serious challenge. Not because they are weak, but because they have never trained. They spent years living comfortably, without friction, without having to push themselves, without facing real discomfort, without having to perform under pressure. It is like someone who has never lifted weights before and suddenly has to carry something heavy. The body does not respond, not because it is incapable, but because it was never prepared. The mind works the same way. Confidence is not a beautiful feeling that appears out of nowhere. Confidence is an internal record. It is the result of experiences that prove to yourself that you can handle hard things. It is not born from repeating affirmations in front of a mirror. It is born from the moments when you wanted to quit and did not quit. From the days that were difficult and you kept going. From the uncomfortable situations where you stood your ground. Without those pieces of evidence, your mind has no reason at all to trust you. And this is where one of the most powerful Stoic practices comes in: voluntary discomfort. Intentionally seeking small difficulties before life imposes much greater ones, not as punishment but as training. Like a soldier preparing before war, because waiting for a crisis to arrive before finding out whether you are strong is the worst possible moment for that test. So you start small, taking a cold shower when every part of you wants hot water, going for a walk when it is raining and the couch feels far more comfortable, spending a few hours away from your phone, even while feeling that subtle urge to reach for it, getting up when your body begs for 5 more minutes, waiting a little longer before giving in to an impulse. Simple things, but incredibly powerful. Because every one of those actions sends a direct message to your brain: I am not controlled by my impulses. I decide. I am in command. And when that message is repeated every single day, you stop being someone who simply reacts and become someone who consciously chooses. And that is the foundation of true confidence, not the kind that depends on everything working out, but the kind that comes from the certainty that even when things go wrong, you can handle them. It is the confidence of someone who has already lived through discomfort and was not destroyed by it. Someone who wanted to quit and kept going anyway. Someone who has already faced hard days and remained standing. That kind of confidence does not fluctuate. It does not depend on validation. It does not depend on circumstances. It is built, brick by brick, situation by situation, choice by choice. So stop always looking for the easiest path, because the easy path quietly weakens you. It leaves you unprepared for the very moment when you will need strength the most. Embrace friction, embrace adversity, train yourself to endure discomfort, train your self-control. Make it part of your daily routine, because when the real challenge comes, and it always does, you will not be shaken. You will recognize the terrain, and you will know exactly what to do. Tool 5. The two-handle rule no one ever taught you. Epictetus taught something that, if taken seriously, completely changes the way you move through difficult moments. Everything that happens has two handles. One allows you to deal with it with strength. The other pulls you deeper into the problem. And here's the mistake almost no one notices. You don't suffer only because of what happened. You suffer because of the way you choose to hold what happened. In real life, this happens fast, automatically, almost invisibly. Someone disrespects you, and within seconds you turn it into something personal, as if that moment defines who you are. Something doesn't go as planned, and you immediately label it as failure, as if one mistake defines your abilities. A plan falls apart, and you treat it like a total loss, as if there were no possible adjustment. And that's where worry enters, not as a reaction to the event itself, but as a story built on top of the event. You don't just think this went wrong. You start thinking, what if everything keeps going wrong? What if this proves I'm not good enough? What if everyone notices? Do you see it? The original problem was small, but the way you hold it starts multiplying its weight. The mind doesn't just carry the burden, it magnifies it. Now picture this. It's like walking through an airport, hugging a heavy suitcase against your chest, straining your arms, exhausting yourself, when the suitcase has wheels and was designed to be pulled with ease. The weight is exactly the same. The suitcase hasn't changed, but the way you choose to carry it completely transforms the experience. And that's exactly what you do with many of your problems. They already have weight, but you insist on carrying them in the hardest way possible. But people who develop emotional strength do something different, not because life is easier for them, but because they learn in the middle of pressure to adjust the way they hold what they're facing. One bad day doesn't become a bad life. It becomes nothing more than a day that needs to be lived through with greater awareness. An unanswered text doesn't become rejection. It becomes nothing more than a lack of response. An unfriendly look doesn't become judgment. It becomes nothing more than another person's opinion. Silence doesn't become contempt. It becomes nothing more than missing information. A mistake doesn't become failure. It becomes a course correction. A delay doesn't become panic. It becomes a chance to reorganize. None of this is forced positivity. This is strategy. This is intelligence applied at the exact moment when reacting impulsively would be the easiest thing to do. And here's the most important point. You don't need to deny what you feel. You simply need to stop making an already difficult situation even harder. That's the difference, because maturity isn't about never feeling pain. It's about refusing to turn everything into something bigger than it really is. Because in the end, most of the things overwhelming you are not bigger than you. You're simply handling them in the least effective way possible, and that's a skill you can train. In the middle of discomfort, in the middle of pressure, you can stop for a second and ask yourself, am I dealing with this, or am I making it worse? That single question changes everything, because it pulls you out of autopilot and puts you back in control of your actions. Worry, difficult moments, that feeling of anxiety and restlessness, none of it is bigger than you. What makes it seem bigger is the way you're dealing with it. When you carry those situations by the wrong handle, everything feels heavier, everything feels urgent, everything feels out of control. But when you adjust the way you hold them, the very same problem stops controlling you and becomes nothing more than something you move through. That's the turning point. You stop being dragged around and start leading yourself. Because in the end, life isn't crushing you, it's the way you're responding to it. And the moment you understand that, you reclaim something you should never have lost in the first place, control over yourself. So the next time the weight starts to grow, don't react. Adjust, choose the right handle, and keep moving forward. Tool 6. Stop wasting your life. We've reached the final tool, the most uncomfortable one, and at the same time, the most life-changing of them all. The previous ones gave you clarity, gave you control, gave you strength to deal with the world. But this one does something different. It changes the way you see time. And when that changes, everything else changes with it. Its name is memento mori. Remember that you will die. I know what you may be thinking right now. That's dark, that's negative. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. It's the thought that brings the greatest clarity back into your life. The problem isn't that you worry too much. The problem is that you live as if you had unlimited time. You get stuck on a comment from someone who doesn't even know you. You drain yourself over an unanswered email. You waste energy trying to control what other people think. Because deep down, you act as if you could throw away entire days and still have plenty of time left to truly live later. But let me show you this in a simple way. It's like someone who receives only one bottle of water to cross the desert and decides to pour half of it out on impulse, assuming they'll find another one farther ahead. That's the mistake. You're treating your time as if it were replaceable, when it isn't. Now be honest with yourself. If you knew with absolute certainty that today was your last day, would you still care about that unanswered message, that criticism, that tiny detail that didn't turn out perfectly? Or would you let all of it fall to the ground, realizing it's far too small to carry? Because that's exactly what it is, far too small. In the end, what truly carries weight isn't any of those things. It's the people you love, the actions you take, and the person you choose to become while you still have time. Memento mori isn't about sadness. It's about priorities. It's a brutally honest filter. Every time worry shows up, ask yourself one simple question. Will this still matter at the end of my life? If the answer is no, and most of the time it will be, then that worry doesn't deserve even 1 second of your attention. That's the rule. Simple, clear, direct, and liberating. Because your time is the only resource you truly own, and it's the only one you'll never get back. Money comes back, opportunities come back, energy comes back, vitality comes back, but time never does. So stop giving it away to anxiety, resentment, or the need for approval. That's like trading gold for sand. Use your time to build something real, to strengthen who you are, to act with intention. Don't wait for the right moment, for the perfect circumstances. They don't exist. What exists is the moment you choose to use, the reality you're living in right now. Think about someone who faced extreme situations, war, loss, scarcity, and still kept their mind steady. Those people didn't have more time than you do. They simply had a greater awareness of its value. And that's what you need to build. Use your mortality as a compass, not as fear, but as direction. As a daily reminder that every choice carries weight, because time is passing right now while you're hearing this. Live like someone who understands that. Act with clarity, decide with conviction, and stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. Because one day, inevitably, everything comes to an end. And when that day arrives, the only question that will matter is this: did you truly live, or did you spend your life reacting to things that never really mattered? 6 tools. One single purpose: to free you from what you cannot control and return to you what has always been yours, your mind, your choices, and your time. Separate facts from interpretation. Let go of what doesn't belong to you. Face your fears before they take control of you. Adjust the way you carry what happens, and never forget, time is passing, not later, not when everything is finally perfect. Right now. So use that to your advantage. Because in the end, the difference between those who live with clarity and those who live overwhelmed isn't the life each person is given, but the way each person responds to what they're given. This doesn't work only in peaceful moments. It works precisely when everything falls apart, when someone pressures you, when something breaks, when the day goes completely differently than you planned. That's when it proves itself. People like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca didn't become strong because life made things easy. They became strong because they learned to act with clarity even when nothing was working in their favor. When everything became heavy, they didn't break. They stayed grounded. Now it's your turn. From this point forward, you can keep reacting the way you've always reacted, or you can begin responding with awareness. You can stay on autopilot, repeating the same patterns. You can keep carrying everything in the hardest way possible, or you can stop, adjust, and move forward more lightly, even with the same weight. If this video brought you clarity, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And write in the comments, "Today I take control of my mind." But don't write it as just another phrase. Write it as a commitment. And more importantly, prove it the next time a real challenge appears. That's where this stops being an idea and becomes genuine transformation. The Stoic House will always be here whenever you need it. Like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.